Coming up, I'm taking you to downtown Las Vegas to the Plaza Hotel to see not only one of the best shows in Las Vegas, but a show that I believe is the best deal happening in Las Vegas right now. I'm Mike the Vegas Guy. Thank you for joining me once again as I attempt to rate and review every show playing in Las Vegas, and this is my review of Misbehave's Mavericks. Mavericks plays at the Plaza Hotel Wednesdays through Sundays at 7 o'clock with an additional 9:30 p.m. show on Saturdays. This is a 21 and over variety show. No two shows are ever alike. It features a rotating cast of some of Las Vegas's best variety performers. You will always see some burlesque, you'll always see some sort of musical act like a singer, and from there are no limits. You never know who you might see each night, whether it's jugglers, magicians, acrobats, contortionists, and it's all held together by the creator of the show, the host and MC, Misbehave, aka Amy Saunders. If you're a fan of Vegas shows over the last few years, you're probably familiar with Amy's character Misbehave, formerly of the Misbehave game show, which headlined at Bally's for several years right up until the pandemic closures. The original concept for this show began actually a few years ago on the Fremont East side of the Fremont Street Experience at the Cheap Shot nightclub. It was a very small venue. All the tickets were $25. It was absolutely one of the hottest tickets in town. The creator of the show, Amy Saunders, actually took some time off so she could launch a franchise version of the Misbehave game show on Virgin Cruise Lines, which has been very successful ever since. Now she's back in Las Vegas and has opened the new incarnation of Misbehave's Mavericks at the Plaza Hotel at the other end of Fremont Street, the corner of Main Street in Fremont, at the end of the Fremont Street Experience. And it is in, personally, my favorite showroom in all of Las Vegas. The Plaza Showroom is one of the last, best preserved, original Vegas showrooms in existence. A few years ago, they had a show in there that had actually tried to modernize the room, and I'm really happy to say that they have sort of undone some of that work and restored this room to its, classic Vegas former glory. If you're a fan of my channel, you know I talk about ambiance being worth the price of admission sometimes. This is also the case in this showroom for this show. You will feel like you are stepping back in time to old Vegas, and this show couldn't be more perfectly suited for that vibe. Thankfully, this show does allow photography, so I'm showing you some clips right now of what it looks like inside there. While we're on the subject, let's just get right into the seating. I will show you the seating chart here, and along with some prices. These, of course, are the prices that you'll get in your checkout cart when you have all taxes and fees included. Let's just get right down to brass tacks here. I already said this is one of the best deals in town. These prices are incredibly fair. If you go to this show's website, you will see them boast many times that they do not have any hidden fees in their ticketing site. They have their own ticketing broker. If you've watched my ticketing tutorial, my video about how Ticketmaster works, this is the way we combat those ticketing fees and Ticketmaster and the monopolies. This show utilizes an independent ticket broker specifically for their show, and that way they do not have any extra hidden fees. That having been said, they can't get out of those local entertainment taxes that I've taught you about in that tutorial as well. So they do have an advertised rate of no more than $99, going down from there. So what they advertise as $99 becomes $107. Their $75 ticket becomes $81.75. Their $69 advertised rate is $75.21. Their $55 rate becomes $59.95. And they also have a locals discount, a really great offer if you are a Las Vegas local. $35. After the LAT, it becomes $38.15. And the other good news, the other piece of advice I'm going to give you, there are absolutely no bad seats in this theater. Buy the cheapest possible ticket for this show. You're going to enjoy this show. There are no seats that are too far away from the action. If anything, you might find that there are some seats that are a little too close to the action. Those most expensive seats are going to put you right down front and center if you purchase them. You should be aware that action will take place in the center aisle throughout the theater. So if you are seated in the front sections or anywhere along the center aisle, there will end up being some performers getting quite close to you at some point during the show. Now, the important thing you need to know about the seating in this theater, it does implement Maitre D seating. Now, I'm sure you know all about Maitre D seating because you've probably watched part 3 of my ticketing tutorial titled How Seating Works. And I'm being sarcastic right now because that is one of the least watched videos on my channel. But for the couple of hundred of you who have watched that video, you'll know all about how Maitre D seating works. The seats in this theater are not assigned. You are booking yourself into a section. You get to choose whether you want a booth or a table, and the pricing tiers guarantee just how close to the stage you will end up getting seated. But then when you arrive to the theater, if you arrive early, the showroom staff will seat you at their discretion based on your ticket rate. And of course, as I've mentioned in that tutorial, you never know when you might get an upgraded ticket just for showing up at the right time, or if you are exceptionally generous toward your showroom host. This showroom actually has a standing policy for those locals tickets. They give you the quote-unquote best seats for being a local. So if you have a locals ticket with your local ID, those showroom hosts are going to give you that upgrade just for being a local. Of course, I explain this a little more in depth in my little seating ticketing tutorial, chapter 3, that's on my page here, if you want to know a few more tips and tricks about how to maybe get one of those upgrades. Never any promises, but this is one of those shows that operates their showroom the old school classic Vegas way. It is part of the experience. Everything from when you walk into this showroom, you get seated, there is cocktail service at your table, so if you arrive early, you don't even have to get up and go to a bar somewhere. A server will come up to your table and bring drinks straight to you and give you a bill at the end of the show like a good old-fashioned Vegas lounge. Now, I usually talk about discounts. Like I mentioned, they already go through their own private ticket broker. They offer you the best prices on that website. You will see this show advertised on some of those other third-party brokers in town. It will probably end up costing you more than if you went directly through their website. I'll include the link to their ticketing page in the description here or in the comments. I'm not affiliated with them. There's no kickbacks involved. I just want to make it easy for you. The site that they use, or at least the one they're currently using as of this publication, is Fever. Fever is a third-party broker in and of itself. So when you're on that website, you're going to see advertisements for other Vegas shows where they are acting as a third-party broker, where you could get those tickets elsewhere. So it might be a little confusing. So I'm just letting you know, if you're on the web page and it says Fever, F-E-V-E-R at the top, you are on the correct page. This is the correct place to buy your tickets for this show. But if you see advertisements for other Vegas shows on that page, I can't guarantee that that's going to be the cheapest place for you to get those other tickets. This is only for the Misbehaved Mavericks show. Otherwise, shop at your own risk and do your homework like I always tell you to do. So let's just get right into my review. Obviously, I've already made it perfectly clear that I love this show. I think this is one of the best shows in Vegas right now. It's the best deal for tickets. I mentioned that this show is different every night, but there is a consistency to this show wherein you are always going to see seasoned professional Vegas entertainers every night. The people who perform in this show are people who have performed in some of the biggest shows in town. They are often former Cirque du Soleil performers, people who've worked with Spiegelworld in shows like Absinthe or Atomic Saloon. These are a lot of burlesque and circus variety performers who have their one little act that they do, and they often hop in and out of shows. Sometimes they leave Vegas and go on tour for a while, but they're based in Vegas. What Amy Saunders has created here is a show, a resident year-round show for performers who are based in Vegas to drop in and get some work in when perhaps they are not performing in other bigger shows around the world. And quite often, some very accomplished, world-renowned performers drop in on this show. Normally, I would caution you about a show that has different performers from night to night, that perhaps the quality is inconsistent. I've seen this show many times now. The quality is incredibly consistent. This show allows you to get some of the best Vegas entertainers in one night for the cheapest price you're probably ever going to be able to see these folks. This is the same quality of a show you would get from something like Absinthe for a fraction of the cost. There is a small handful of performers who seem to be in this show pretty consistently, and they kind of anchor the show. But that having been said, I've never seen the same lineup twice. There's always new acts, and it's always a really fun time. One thing I forgot to touch on, I should mention, there is an age restriction, 21 and over. Now, as you know, in the past, when I review shows that have an adults-only age restriction, I usually grade on a curve because it's generally understood that the show is not geared towards all audiences, and that if you're buying a ticket to this show, you're forewarned about the content. I really should mention that in spite of that 21 and over age requirement, the content of this show is really not that offensive. Yes, there is usually more than one burlesque performer in the show, but it's not a fully nude show in any way. This show actually goes far out of its way to not offend people, not make the audience feel uncomfortable, which you can't say for some of those other shows I've mentioned already in this video. You might be asking why the 21 and over age limit and not the 18 and over age limit. When you see a show, or really any venue in town that has a 21 and over age limit, it usually has more to do with the liquor license than the content of the show. There's different kinds of liquor licenses out there. You have to meet certain requirements for your room. And of course, if you card everyone at the door, then you take a lot of pressure off of your bartenders and your front of house staff to be policing the liquor laws. So do not let the age restriction deter you from this show. It's a very approachable show. There will be some adult content. There's going to be burlesque. If you're not into that, then maybe you want to stay away from this. But otherwise, I can't give you any reasons not to see this show. This is a top-of-the-line, classic Vegas experience at a great price. I have to give this my 5-star must-see rating, as if you hadn't figured that out already. And I also have to commend them. They do a lot of things for the audience. They offer free parking at the Plaza, so don't let the trip downtown to the Plaza deter you. If you park in the garage when you get into the showroom, they will validate your parking ticket for their garage at the Plaza. Of course, if you're a tourist just visiting and you're taking Lyft and Uber, you don't have to worry about that. But trust me, it is worth the trip downtown and off of the Strip to see this show. If you're a frequent viewer of my channel, you know that I'm always searching for the best deal for you, the entertainment consumer. All of my reviews revolve around whether or not a cost-conscious consumer should spend their hard-earned money on a show, especially if you're not sure of the content of this show. This is a pretty new show to town. You might not have heard of it, but I have to recommend it to you. It is truly one of the best things to see, while you still can see a classic style Vegas show in a vintage Vegas showroom. This show is doing absolutely everything right. If you've never been to the Plaza, it is a vintage hotel in and of itself, and their current CEO, Jonathan Jossel, is doing really great things over there. He has a podcast called On the Corner of Main Street, and he just mentioned in the most recent episode that the Plaza is investing in this show. They are officially a producing partner, which means that they're going to be able to keep those ticket prices low for this show. They're going to be able to run this show like they ran shows in the good old days when casinos produced the shows themselves, which is how they were able to offer very low ticket rates, because the casino operators understood that having great live entertainment brought business to their property. Something that unfortunately has plagued the newer generation of Vegas shows, where they are just forced to pay rent. The casinos want nothing to do with the operation of a show, and they no longer consider having entertainment a loss leader. I hope that wasn't too much inside baseball for some of you out there. It really excites me as a geek who loves the entertainment scene in this town. It's just so joyous to see so many talented artists having this opportunity to perform and do their craft in this environment, and to make it so accessible for the public to come and see it. Do not go and spend hundreds of dollars on a variety show on the Strip when you can come down to the Plaza and see this fantastic show for an affordable price. I hope you found this video informative. Thank you so much for hitting that like button and the subscribe button. Don't forget, if you really enjoy my content, you can support me on Patreon for $5 a month. It's where I answer direct questions. If you have questions about your upcoming trips to Vegas or show tickets or anything, I'll directly communicate with my supporters over there on Patreon. Thank you to those of you who have contributed. Let me know in the comments, have you seen Misbehaves Mavericks? What show would you like to see me review next? Until then, I'm Mike the Vegas Guy.